right. Well, welcome everybody to this town hall about STEM and STEM University. It's my pleasure to have you here. My name is Guillaume Casanova. I'm with BayWa RE, the Solo Distribution Group, and I'm the Director of Commercial Solutions. I'll be moderating the webinars for the STEM crew here. And yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. We want to expose you to STEM and STEM University. There is a little Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. If you go down, you see that says Q&A. Feel free to type any questions that you may have. We'll moderate them, look at them, and at the end or throughout the webinar, we're going to try to give answer to most of them. And I know the audience has also, when they sign up, they also submitted a lot of questions, and we're going to try to answer them also through that webinar. So thank you very much for that. But yeah, if I may start, I thought we could start off by having each of the STEM folks to introduce themselves. We have John Saren from STEM that will be presenting and talking today. We also have Brian Molina on the line from STEM, and we have Doug Jordan present here. And so maybe if each of you, if you could start by introducing yourself and maybe tell us a little bit what STEM is up to these days. You know, it's not normal time, so if you could give us some background.
Yeah, I can start. And thanks, Guillaume. And hi, everyone. Again, my name is John Saren, and I run the partner program here at STEM. I'm on the behind-the-meter sales team, and you know, really excited to be in front of you today to talk about you know, the STEM partner program's flagship offering, STEM University. And I'll let Brian and Doug introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brian Molina. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. I'm an analyst with the product marketing team, where I primarily am focused on the behind the meter market. And, you know, current times for us are fairly still full speed ahead. So, you know, I say that with great pride, you know, and I'm very excited to be here and share with you all, you know, what some of that process looks like from an analytics standpoint. And so with that, you know, pass it to Doug Jordan.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, great to virtually meet you all. Kind of echoing Brian, there was a little hiccup, obviously, and as the pandemic really hit, but most of our customers are really eager, as well as our partners, to push forward. This is obviously, as our executives have shared on social media and in various press releases and interviews, this is ultimately a resilience solution. And as companies are coming out of this pandemic, they'll be eager to find ways of saving money because it's a new world. So obviously, site investigations and installations, we're having to comply with all the protocols and social distancing and masks and whatnot, you know, for good reason, for everybody's safety is number one. But yeah, like Brian said, full speed ahead. So yeah, looking forward to digging into some details with you all today.
Cool. Well, thank you for introducing yourself. So, you know, John, maybe I'll start with you. One thing in my conversations with our EPC partners, there's one thing that comes back very often is they'll say, hey, you know what? Commercial storage is exciting, but it's new and we don't know much about it, right? What can I learn? And if you think about it, it's true. Right? Commercial storage and solar plus storage is a rather newer field, and it's poised for tremendous growth. I believe some of the numbers that you've shared with me that Wood Mackenzie has put together is this year we're going to install as a market about 3.5 gigawatt hours, and by 2025 the forecast is 24 gigawatt hours, right? So it's like a 7x market growth. So it's poised for immense growth, and people want to get in. People want to understand, and they're thirsty for knowledge, right? Because it's different from the day-to-day. And it's normal that they might look to STEM, and STEM has been a leader in the forefront of commercial storage. So I'd love to know how you think about that. How do you think about providing knowledge to people? And we're going to talk about STEM University, but is that a good starting point for EPCs that are seeking that knowledge?
Yeah. Thanks for the question, Guillaume. I think the short answer is yes. But Jessica, if you wouldn't mind putting up slide 4. Right. And so, I think at STEM, we've always been kind of had the mindset of being a really solid partner in terms of, educating the channel and, being there to support, our solar EPCs when they need assistance. And, I'd say that kind of culminated at the end of 2019. When we really saw a need to kind of formalize that education and assistance. And so, that was done through the creation of STEM University. And as I mentioned earlier in this webinar, STEM University is the flagship offering of our partner program, and it is our online education platform for solar EPCs, consultants, general partners alike, to get smart on energy storage and solar plus storage. And one of the primary reasons we created STEM University was due to the fact that, again, we saw a need for education in the space, and one of our core goals for STEM University is to increase energy storage attachment rate broadly across the solar industry. And so in order for this to occur, we've realized that solar companies, solar partners, need to become, somewhat subject matter experts in terms of storage to be able to sell, analyze, and deploy these energy storage solutions. And, so that was another key goal of ours. We wanted to create an experience and a program that allowed individuals to become, quote unquote, experts in their field. And finally, once you go through this curriculum, our hope, you'll not only be able to increase your storage attachment rate, which is, again, one of the goals, but we also want EPCs to be able to increase their margins, differentiate their business, and overall provide their customers with better risk-adjusted projects. And I would say, the last two are super important, as Doug alluded to, given the current times we're living in, right? The solar market has seen a pretty big hit, and it's expected to be, down upwards of 30% in the, resi and commercial space by the end of this year. And in order for solar partners to remain relevant and to remain competitive, they need to be able to provide a more differentiated offering to their customers, and then also, provide a level of risk adjustment, that satisfies the client's needs as it stands today.
Yeah.
Right. So, sorry, go ahead, Gil.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And as you mentioned, STEM University is a solar plus storage learning platform, and people can learn about the market. They can learn about the STEM in itself, its application, the cash flow modeling, and from your expert point of view, like you've taken this course and your team has put it up online. Is who do you think should take this course, right? If you think of an EPC, they have sometimes project managers, salespeople, an operation manager, maybe a logistics expert. Who is it best suited for?
Yeah, great question. So excellent. Thank you, Jessica. Slide 6. Yeah, so I think in order to kind of begin the discussion or best frame the discussion about who the university is best suited for, it's easiest to start with kind of what the curriculum is and how we tailored it, right? So as you guys can see from the slide, STEM offers 3 distinct certification programs, one in sales analytics, and one in deployment. And as you can see from the bottom, the sales certification is best suited for sales professionals and business development individuals. Sales analytics is tailored towards analysts and sales engineers. And deployment is really geared towards, your project managers, your field engineers, and your electricians. That said, if an individual finds all three certification programs relevant to them, we would highly encourage, any individual to take all three. I think no matter your background, I think you could gain a great amount of education and benefit from taking any one of these certification programs. But more on them, just to kind of elaborate here, you can see that they each consist of several courses or modules, as shown in the curriculum slide. And in order to achieve certification within the program, an individual will have to undertake the modules and pass a series of short quizzes, one for each module, to confirm knowledge retention. And then at the company level, partners who have achieved a combination of one or more individuals who have gone through and completed all three certification programs are deemed, quote unquote, STEM certified for a year. And this opens up kind of an additional kind of smattering of benefits at the company level for solar partners, such as leads and exclusive training offerings. And we have a logo that we have offered to certified partners. So it's a great program and very beneficial for solar partners.
And it's free, right?
Yes, yeah, that's like last but not least, it's free. The curriculum is free.
Free. You go online, you sign up, and then you simply take the courses, right? It's as simple as that.
Yeah. So the way it works is that there's a link for you to sign up, and it's shown at the end of this presentation, and it will be kind of displayed as a follow-up to this webinar. And you simply go to the link, enter in your information. We ask you to sign a quick non-disclosure agreement at the company level, because there is confidential information included in the university, but it's free. It's just an investment of time and energy.
Yeah, and speaking of times, like, how long does one module take?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the sales analytics, depending on your base level of proficiency, I would say can take anywhere from 1 to 3 hours, right? And the deployment, just because it is, such kind of intricate and detailed material, is going to take a little bit longer. I'll actually kind of pose the question to Doug.
Yeah,
Doug,
sure.
what's your best opinion of how long the deployment will take?
Yeah, it'd take about a half a day. I would like if you're really paying attention and you take notes, and when the quizzes come up, you're not having to scramble and go back and figure out the answer. It'd take 4 hours, 4 to 6 hours. It's pretty. We intentionally made it a very technical deep dive into some of the really nitty gritty details, and it, like, a lot of the questions before we developed STEM University that I would get from partners, because that's my role as partner support. It's like like sales engineering, basically, like technical partner support. They're like a lot of low hanging fruit, basic fundamentals that are kind of like FAQs in a sense. So we wanted to make sure that partners we were really drilling those home, and that they're locked in and really solid knowledge, because there really are some critical details that really need to be kept in mind when deploying storage, when adding storage to a solar project, that if you're not constantly in the back of your head, it could really cause some confusion down the road. So anyway.
Yeah, that's a great point, Doug, right? It's like, and moreover, it's like, this investment of time up front will allow you to shave upwards of like 25 to 30% off your project timeline, right?
Absolutely. The timeline is huge. If once you, and we've proven this out, and the data is in the STEM University slides, that our partners who've gone through this end up saving 20 to 30% off of their overall project timeline. And for a big project, hitting certain milestones like that's real money, right? Like it's not just time is money. You might be able to hit some new incentive because you were able to deploy this hardware, or just submit your interconnection application or your building permit with far fewer revisions than you would have otherwise.
And yeah, and that's totally correct, Doug. And if I may speak from personal experience, I personally took the course, and what I found is it's highly valuable because you have a lot of details, and then you're able to learn how to use those, and you're able to then talk to your partners about storage in a much more educated way than you ever were before, right? You understand the pieces of the hardware that comes with a STEM solution, how the tariffs function, how the product is packaged, the warranties. You learn how to model things, how it's going to be deployed. Right? It's extensive, and so maybe for the audience out there, if they had to think, oh, what is going to be my takeaway? What should they expect?
Yeah, I can tackle that first, and then Doug and Brian, if you guys want to add anything, that'd be great. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think overall, our goal is to empower the solar channel, our solar partners, to become proficient, right? We want to give them the tools to succeed and to be knowledgeable in this space, about how and when to add energy storage to a solar project. Kind of drilling into some of the more specifics, right? We structured the university in a way that, the outcomes for our partners, kind of tackled the biggest challenges that we heard from them in our interviews. So we, in creating the university, we interviewed a whole slew of solar partners and heard directly from them what exactly their pain points were. And so, the outcome of that is the key takeaways are right in line with those pain points. So, it's how to sell and talk about energy storage to customers in a way that gets them to really understand the value proposition, and helps them to understand the evaluation process. It's how to model storage projects and create proposals, while kind of juggling and assessing the myriad of factors involved. It's a lot more complex than solar, but our goal is not necessarily to press the easy button, but to guide partners through a process that is stepwise and provides a fairly reasonable and achievable outcome. And then it's digging into the STEM product, right? And kind of attempting, and ideally achieving, cementing in our partners' brains why artificial intelligence and control software is so important when it comes to energy storage, and how giving the partners the tools to be able to effectively communicate that. It's understanding the different markets that STEM operates in and the value proposition within each of those markets. Again, how artificial intelligence can help partners best leverage those markets. And then again, on the post-sale side, it's how to successfully and efficiently deploy and install energy storage systems.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And you know what I love most about STEM University when I was taking the course is there's this person that talks to you through the video, and she says it's about brain power, not battery power. And I thought it was a really cool catchphrase. And maybe can you tell us a little bit what that really means, and where did that come from?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So this is slide 9, if you wouldn't mind, Jessica. So really this sentence is in reference to Athena, which is STEM's AI software, aptly named after the Greek goddess of wisdom. And this software, this AI software, is at the core of the STEM solution, right? And the idea behind the sentence is also that without intelligent controls, as I kind of alluded to earlier, a battery storage system is nothing more than a, quote unquote dumb box, right? But when managed by Athena, STEM energy storage solutions are highly dynamic. And you can kind of see from this slide, this is a representation. This slide is more geared toward the California market, but the idea behind it is that, Athena allows end users, first and foremost, right, or not only, I guess, to access and capitalize on a stack of multiple value streams, right? So you can see several different value streams here: demand charge management, energy arbitrage, solar charging, time optimization, et cetera, right? So it not only allows end users to access all of those value streams, but it also allows for co-optimization around those value streams such that the end user receives the maximum amount of value possible out of their storage system for any given time of day, during a month, during a year, right? So that's one of the biggest benefits of the Athena AI software, and that's what we talk about when we talk about brain power.
Right. And I think you're not thinking about just the size of the system, but you can have a much better return if you optimize everything perfectly through software that is well thought out and that learns by itself, right? And that's where it comes from, if I understand it correctly.
Yeah, that's a great point too, right? It's on top of that, Athena is constantly learning and evolving and growing such that it is getting better at doing what it does.
Right, because it's connected to all the other systems and it learns from all the other ones and then makes better and better decisions. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly correct. We hypothetically or technically operate the largest virtual power plant in the world, right? And if needed, and we've demonstrated this before in Southern California, we can deploy systems that satisfy, you can see here grid rewards to satisfy the needs of the grid, right? So we've done this in the past, and we're still doing this for Southern California Edison's LCR program. And we actually have a really cool video we can show you guys as a follow-up to this webinar that kind of demonstrates, I think it's upwards of 200 systems, working in simultaneous concerted effort to kind of deploy capacity to the grid in Southern California. It's pretty cool.
Good stuff. And, one thing that can be troubling when you start in commercial storage is understanding the tariffs behind the utilities and where you live in. And cash flow modeling is also something that is new or newer, a little bit more complex than we're used to in solar. And I believe STEM University touches on this via the Energy Toolbase portal. So maybe, Brian, could you spend some time talking about that? Like, how does that function, and how does STEM really brings you from that things to you can actually model and calculate your ROI?
Yeah, definitely. See, the awesome thing about STEM University and specifically the sales analytics course is that it was designed with this kind of thought in mind of, well, I would like to model energy storage, but how do I do it? And what kind of inputs do I need to actually accomplish that, right? And so as you can see kind of on the screen here, the course will walk you through what basic inputs you need to start modeling storage. Some of those being, the utility bill of the customer, their load data, solar data, and, a selection of energy storage systems. And then the analytics course, also offers up a modeling software. Here it's ETB that will take those inputs and simulate across the different kind of optimization goals, whether it's demand charge management or energy arbitrage, and produce a savings estimate, for that selected system, right? The course will continue that continue to walk you through and then show you that, about some of the incentives and, depreciation schedules and some of the tax credits that you can receive on your project to kind of save some of your money, right? Because who doesn't love to save a little bit of money, right? So we then kind of all house that within the partner proposal tool. So if we can flip one more slide, please. The partner proposal tool houses all this information, and this is a STEM certified tool. We give this out to our partners. And like I was saying, you know, it houses the incentives, the tax credits, depreciation schedules, as well as STEM's premier partner pricing. And all you really need to do is kind of bring in your savings estimate that you generated from ETB, plug it into the tool, you know, give or take a few more inputs, and then, you know, you'll essentially be given, you know, a metric that you can gauge this project off of.
Right, and it's simple. It's very well described on the website on STEM University. Sorry, yeah. When I took the course, we go through some examples, and what's really cool is then you go and you talk to your client and say, hey, model it out for you, and here are the savings. Here's your return on investment, and it's very powerful. I thought it was very, very powerful. So what I'm understanding so far is with STEM University, we know about the product. If we go on STEM University, we know about the software. It's brain power, not battery power. We know it's financially viable. When we do a proposal, we input the data that we have. So then how do we think, you know, we have all this, we go to the client and they say, you know what, I'm ready. You convinced me, I want to do storage. So how do we think about the logistics? How do we think about the deployment of the system? And maybe Doug, that's a question better suited for you.
Yeah, logistics. I mean, STEM has a logistics team that basically handles all that. You know, John mentioned the easy button earlier. Like, that is kind of our intention in the market, is to be your resource to streamline those types of concerns. We have really strong relationships with all the top tier 1 battery OEMs, ESS OEMs. So, and that team runs through a rigorous RFP process that basically down selects just a handful of OEMs that STEM supports, because we've basically gone out of the market and found the best of the best, and with forecasts of market projections, what are the right solutions for what our partners are going to need. So as I mentioned, we have great relationships with these OEMs, and our logistics team basically handles all of that from your perspective as a solar EPC. You essentially don't really need to worry about it. All we basically need to know is when dates change, and this is covered in the deployments STEM University course. We basically just need to keep close touch of the deployment dates of the whole solar plus storage project. And as far as the solar EPC is concerned, they basically just wait until it shows up, and then you install the system, and it's good to go. And then from that matter too, warranty, O&M, we've got all that figured out. Again, this is all covered in STEM University, but it's basically the solar EPC can sort of rest at ease knowing that we've got it covered, and we've negotiated all the performance guarantee and warranty terms, preventative maintenance, all that stuff is handled. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think it answers the question really well, right? It is STEM is there. You're never by yourself. You have a team that comes in and actually does the work, and it's part of the price you pay, right? It's included in it. It's not even something you have to request, or it's a favor. It's like it comes with it when you install a storage system. That's really important, right? That differentiates you, and I really enjoy that. And I want to shift gear a little bit. You know, when the audience signed up online, they submitted some questions. Maybe that's going to go John. And there's another question here in the chat about, people hear a lot about California as a market. Are there other markets? And we know there's New York, but some of the questions that came back a lot were, hey, what are the best US regions to focus on? What are the incentives? What does it make most sense? How should we capitalize on those? And so can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what are the best markets today? And everybody seems to know about California, but what about others?
Yeah, sure. I can answer that, Guillaume. So thanks for putting out that slide. So the best markets, in STEM's opinion, in our view, are the markets we are currently active in, which again, as you mentioned, California, Hawaii, Massachusetts, and New York, and separately, not on this slide, Arizona. And that, we are active in those markets largely because the incentive regime, in addition to the ability to derive value from behind the meter charges, it's that the incentive regime is so rich, right? And so we have a whole business development team devoted to kind of monitoring the energy storage landscape from both a policy and economics perspective. And their job is really to assess market viability and be on the forefront or the cusp of these markets, and so that we're right there when they open up, and even further still, that perhaps we have a hand in cracking them open, such as maybe kind of shaping policy or helping drive utility decisions, what have you. But so in that regard, some markets that kind of we see on the cusp of being viable are, again, ones that right now there is a kind of a utility or a state procurement plan, like New Jersey and Virginia, but we're still waiting for an associated incentive to kind of come into play. But if we look at the active markets, right? They allow STEM to leverage its core competency, which is optimizing these stacked value streams. So in California, you can see there's a ton, right? We can monetize the S-chip incentive. Behind the meter, there's both demand charge management and energy arbitrage. There's different grid programs depending on where you are in the state. Also some demand response programs, and then in particular in California, as of late and last summer as well, we've seen the increased need for backup power and resiliency offerings, and STEM has a very sound offering in that regard. And then, sorry, go ahead, Gil.
Yeah, John, just a little bit. Oh, I'm hearing a little bit of Nico. Sorry for the audience. STEM has experience in all these markets. You've deployed installations and yeah, like how is it on the East Coast, like on Massachusetts, New York? How are those markets? If you could detail.
Yeah. So Massachusetts and New York are really cool because there's economic viability both front of the meter and behind the meter. This slide really speaks mainly to behind the meter. But in both states, we have sites operating both front of the meter and behind the meter, and so of note in Massachusetts, recently a pretty large site went live that's now operating and trading in ISO New England, which is really, really cool. We're one of the first companies to do this, and so we're kind of blazing a trail, as it were. But behind the meter, again, in Massachusetts, there's a stack of value streams that you can leverage. So there's the MA Smart incentive, which we can guarantee for the end use customer. There's Clean Peaks, which is coming down the pike. There's Connected Solutions, which is Massachusetts demand response program, and then there is demand charge management mitigation available. And then in New York, you have New York's RSA, the retail storage incentive program, which offers you a dollar per kilowatt incentive or kilowatt hour incentive for installing storage. And then there's also the value of distributed energy resources tariff, which STEM can help guarantee that a customer achieves the various value streams that that tariff has to offer. It's like a kind of a stack within a stack, right? You see these, we have these different value streams listed here, but VEDR has, several different value streams that a storage system can access included within it, and depending on how many you can kind of grab, your incentive increases. So it's pretty cool. Well, I think you're muted, Guillaume.
Yeah, I was muted. Sorry.
Okay.
The troubles of Zoom. Even after 5 months of working from home, I haven't been able to forget the unmute button. But I want to take time a little bit. There's some questions that have come in, and maybe if we can take the next 3-5 minutes to talk about that. We'll come back to some of the other topics we wanted to approach, but there's a question here. How to think in addressing the fundamental considerations between AC and DC coupling. So not sure in the STEM slides if there's someone that has that is the most equipped to answer. I'd love for this one to be answered, maybe Doug or John.
Yeah, I'll just jump in with the first thing that comes to mind. I saw the question come in, and I'm really glad you asked it. From the deployments perspective and actually pre-deployment, it's really the utility and the interconnection application, because as you likely know, but maybe some of you online don't, the AC coupled configuration is additive. So the solar and the storage, that total power output gets added together. So 1 megawatt of solar and 500 kilowatts of storage, that's 1.5 megawatts if it's AC coupled. If it's DC coupled, it's just the total nameplate of the max output of the combined DC coupled inverter. So if you've got same configuration, you've got a megawatt of solar with a 1 megawatt inverter DC coupled behind with DC 500 kilowatts of DC coupled storage. That's only 1 megawatt from the standpoint of the utility, right? And so, as again, many of you know, certain utilities have system size thresholds that require SCADA or kick it into an upper echelon of engineering review. That can cause a ton of problems, ton of delays, right? So I would say, logistically speaking, for the project success, that is by far, again, just my perspective. I know there's a bunch of other considerations, data analysis and the tariffs and peak shaving and all that, but that can wreak havoc on your project if you don't basically weigh the pros and cons of interconnecting DC versus AC and judging what's the risk versus reward. Is it worth kicking over a megawatt? Like, I'll just use PG&E as an example because it's huge and I've done a million projects there. Is it worth kicking over their 1 megawatt threshold for SCADA and engineering review and whatnot to harness the additional savings, let's say, of doing a 1.25 megawatt AC coupled system? Or do I go DC coupled, maybe sacrifice a little, I'm just making stuff up, like 5% of the savings or something like that, 2% of the savings? It really comes down to a financial break even, right? What's the risk? What's the reward? I'm up like $10,000 worth of SCADA. What are the chances that this goes in a detailed supplemental engineering study? What are the potential utility upgrades that I could encounter? These are hard conversations that you're going to have with your customers and do a detailed financial analysis comparing the options.
Thanks, Doug.
I can add on to that if we'd like. I'd say we see it more front of the meter, this issue, and Doug mentioned the 1 megawatt issue in California. We're seeing a lot also in Massachusetts with the 5 megawatt interconnection limit. The MA Smart is super rich, and it's like the larger the solar system, the more incentive you're going to get. So you get a lot of developers who are, trying to get butt up against that 5 megawatt limit, but then also there's a storage adder, right? And so how do you maximize that incentive? And so DC coupled is a thought that's on a lot of developers' mind, but as Doug mentioned, that there's a way to do it right and there's a way not to do it right. And if you don't size your solar system appropriately with your storage system, such that you are, allowing the battery to perform, because most utilities won't allow if it's DC coupled, then you're not going to be able to charge from anything but the solar, right? And there's other issues in that regard. And so if you don't size things appropriately, you won't get the full impact or value out of your battery that you otherwise would be able to get if it was AC coupled. So
yeah. There's a quick question. I think we've been talking a lot about Serving University. There's a question from Eric. Is there a link or what's the website address that people should go to if they wanted to access it?
Yeah, it's university.stem.com, and that'll take you to the login page, and then kind of at the bottom, there's a button that says sign up, and just click on that, and it'll
Awesome.
take you to the sign up page.
And then Chris has a question that says, hey, after completion of your 3-step program, what are the chances that one could be apart from an actual installation, right? So if I understand correctly, it's probably, hey, if I take the courses, then can I do the installation? Do I understand it? Is it easy?
Yeah, so I'll let Doug jump in here.
Yeah, maybe I'm misunderstanding the question, but if you want to like come and witness an ongoing installation, that might be really difficult to coordinate, especially with COVID and everything. But if I understand the question alternatively, and you're basically just asking, can you go ahead and start installing? Yeah, absolutely. Like the deployments portion of STEM University is required before an EPC, before we will basically issue a purchase order to a partner. We need to see that deployment certification so that we're confident that your EPC, and again, this is in the deployments module, you might subcontract to an E and a C, if you catch my drift, right? Like some folks do it kind of piecemeal, or maybe you do it all lump sum into one umbrella EPC. Either way, the engineer and the electrician really need to take the deployment certification, because they need to know both of each other's content in order to really understand the full picture of what it means to design, engineer, and procure and construct, hence the EPC of a STEM system in conjunction with a solar system. So that's the first step. Then we have the EPCs go through the OEM training. Tesla has their own online. And then, I mean, obviously in COVID, the whole world has changed. So normally we would have done an on-site hands-on training, but we're not doing that anymore. So, and then SunGrow is in process of developing a similar video. It's a couple hours, but very detailed, very hands-on. And then we also step through the installation manual with the EPC to make sure that there aren't any questions. And then the last step is the deployment of the system, and your project will be assigned a STEM project manager to kind of be there for you and hold your hand, make sure that you don't run into any issues. And then after the second time around of deploying an ESS with STEM, the project manager is basically your professor, if you will, saying, hey, cool, yeah, great job. No issues in design, no issues in interconnection or construction, no issues during commissioning. Everything went great. You're certified. And then what that means then is that the EPC or the solar developer partner, however your configuration, maybe you have in-house EPC, it all depends. There's all these different configurations, but at that point, you would not need STEM's oversight because you don't need the training wheels anymore, so to speak, and you're on your own. You're an expert, and you can deploy STEM ESS paired with solar on your own. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I'm going to continue with some of the question of the audience. There was one that maybe it might be for John, because you and I have talked about this over the phone, but are there battery storage solutions for small commercial projects? I know maybe talking a little bit about STEM, what's the minimum size product, and is there something on the roadmap?
Yeah. So, right now STEM's smallest building block is 125 kilowatts, 525 kilowatt hours. And, so I would say that's medium-sized commercial. There's nothing formal on the roadmap right now, but, we're actively, we're always actively, I guess, evaluating and engaging with hardware suppliers and vendors. And, so that it's on our mind for sure. And, we'll probably have more information in that regard by Q4, I would say, but nothing formal at this time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And one of the question when the audience signed up, one of the question was around retrofitting. There's obviously a lot of solar systems that have been installed in the past 10 to 15 years. And so is this something that's easily doable, and where do we start if we were to retrofit a project?
Yeah, I'll start, and then I'll let Brian jump in if that's cool, Brian. It is easy to do, and we've done it for for several clients, and we've installed retrofits before. In California, there's actually a better SCHIP incentive for storage retrofits. But in terms of kind of the process, Brian, would you mind speaking to that?
Yeah, so, unfortunately, currently the sales analytics course doesn't cover how to model a solar retrofit. But as John mentioned, we've done it in the past, and we're definitely experienced in doing that kind of modeling. And so, I definitely can, help, our partners through that process. But I think some of the key kind of points when doing, this modeling is to ensure that you're not double counting your solar, right? Because, going back to some of the inputs that you put into ETB, one of them would be the utility data. And because there's already solar on site, you want to make sure to kind of extract that solar from the utility data so that, the battery, if need be, can charge from it. I'd say that, another point that is addressed actually in the sales analytics course is in regards to receiving ITC credit. I know that the course mentions there being some precedents set by a wind farm, but we definitely would want to advise for you to just, I guess, talk that over with your tax advisor, right? It's unfortunately, we have that knowledge, but just not, complete experts in it.
Thank you. Another question is, I think that pertains really well, is how do we prompt this technology to existing customers? And if we're in the shoes of an EPC partners and they have to talk to the end customer that is on the fence about storage, what have you seen that works? How should they approach new and existing clients to showcase, the importance of having storage? What should they talk about? What works?
Yeah, so I can start here, and then Doug, and feel free to jump in. So we actually have a slide for this. If you want to go to slide 14, Jessica. And I'll just start talking until we have the slide. But really, there you go. And at STEM, we like to say, attach to strategies, not to meters. right? And so, because attaching to a meter is easy, right? Selling an end use customer on the amount they can save, that's a no-brainer. But to really drive a sale home and to embed yourself for future opportunities with an end use customer, you need to figure out what's driving their decision-making process, right? And on the screen here, you can see several different strategies which really motivate some of your end use customers. And we've seen these be motivational for some of our larger enterprise customers that we actually work directly with. Two that are pretty kind of top of mind right now are, protecting the environment, and then also improving resiliency and safety. Especially in California, as I mentioned before, first with wildfires last year, now with the pandemic downturn that we're currently experiencing, customers' need for a safe, reliable option, a resilient option is, it continues to be at the forefront of people's mind. And so, it's only through kind of, we call it getting curious and figuring out exactly what's driving the customer that you'll be able to, kind of see what strategies you can attach to. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Thank you, John. Another question here that we received early on is not part of the Q&A features, but talking about safety, there's several questions around that. How do we think about hazard mitigation? Is there maintenance procedures that would help? Now, how about gas and fire detections or protection? How should someone think about that?
Yeah, I'll take that. So we definitely recommend, broadly speaking, safety best practices. All your staff should be OSHA 10 or OSHA 30 certified. That's what we do, and strong safety program, safity procedures. OSHA has myriad resources out there at your disposal for free. When it comes to the batteries themselves, along those lines, they aren't really technically considered hazmat because all the chemistry is self-contained, but it's good to have your folks, the boots on the ground who are doing the work, be hazmat trained, so that they know what to do in the extremely unlikely event that there was any kind of leakage or inflagration event. The other, the other item related to that is the fire detection and suppression systems. The OEMs that we work with offer an optional add-on hardware component that can detect and put out extinguish was the word I was looking for. Extinguish a thermal runaway event as we define them. So there are options. I would say this is one of the most critical things that regardless of what market you're working in, that you'll want to have a conversation with the AHJ, with multiple AHJs. I mean, at the end of the day, you got the building department, you got the fire department. In the boroughs of New York, there even is a first responder entity that you must go through to get these systems permitted, and they mandate that these fire suppression systems be installed with the battery. So it's just really important that you have even if your detailed plan set isn't done yet, just having an introductory conversation with the building department or the fire department, wherever you're installing, having a conversation, phone, go in person if they're doing that, with masks or what have you, and just talk about it and find out what their local requirements are going to be. Because you can talk NEC, NFPA all day, every day, but if the local fire marshal says, no way, you're not putting this thing in my town without a fire suppression system, you're dead in the water. So just make sure you have those conversations early.
Thanks, Doug. And just for we're at 4 minutes left in this webinar. So I want to ask one last question, and if all three of you could give us a little bit of an answer. But if you had one advice to solar companies wanting to succeed in commercial storage, what would it be? John, you go.
Enroll in STEM University today.
Yep. Yeah, mine, John, you kind of stole my first point. Mine would be, yeah, get educated. And, you know, as we all know of a great website now where you can actually get educated. If I could offer one more, it would be to, and it's a little bit selfish, but to actually model some of these systems yourselves. That way you can kind of get comfortable with the idea of what, you know, kind of savings can the system achieve and how it actually achieves that.
And I'll just add, it's obviously back to just like learning about the nuances of adding storage to solar. The thing that is most critical is the communications architecture. That is the biggest difference when you're adding storage to solar. There are several meters that need to be communicating with the STEM Athena power controller. That's the brains of the operation, brain power, not battery power, if you recall. So it's really important when you're assessing a site for solar and you've got storage added to that, you need to think about, okay, so where am I going to run all this Ethernet or Cat5 cable or RS-485 or fiber, depending on if it's a really large site. It gets much more complicated when you're trying to value engineer a system, co-locating your battery. Where are you going to put this huge container? How long is my AC run going to be from the battery to the solar switchboard? And then, oh wait, now my battery's clear on the other side of this building. I have to run 1,000 feet of fiber now. Thinking all this out and drawing it even just crudely on a piece of paper and kind of doing some back of the envelope calculations, again, early on. And that's what we're here for, right? We're here to help educate you and get you really comfortable with these types of value engineering decisions.
Good stuff. Thank you, all of you, for answering these questions, and thank you for the audience for participating. We're gonna end the webinar now. It's been a little bit of a minute early, but if you have any questions, please reach out to either of us. You have our email addresses. So thank you very much for attending. And if you have other questions that we didn't get to answer, please send them our ways, and we'll make sure to follow up afterward. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye all.
Thanks all.
Cheers.